Please take your seat, assembly people. Mr. Posey, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I won't. You're not really with us.
Well,
Where are you, Mr. Posey?
What part of Hawaii, Mr. Posey, are you in?
Houston, Texas. That's my guess.
Okay, let's get started. This is a work session on Mlnp.
Could folks clear the room?
Clear the room, please, if you would like to continue discussion.
Thank you.
And please go around the table and start introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Rick Miller, Mlnp CFO and Assistant General Manager.
CFO.
Joyce Newcott, Budget Supervisor.
Jennifer Johnson, Assembly.
WOC Andrew.
Dick Training.
Adam Charlton.
Following Assembly.
Chris Birch.
I think Mr. Flynn might be joining us in a couple minutes. Proceed.
Okay, so at the last Assembly meeting, we were asked to provide an explanation of an additional expense appropriation of $4 million. So as a result of that request, what we have done is we have prepared a full income statement that includes a forecast of 2012 and then a comparison of 2012 relative to its budget. So in order to develop the forecast for 2012, what we did was we identified and recorded what the actuals in Mlnp are through November, and then we did a forecast of the month of December to come up with the total 2012 forecast. So based on this, in relative to the budget, would represent the variance. If you look down towards the bottom of the page, you will see a box in the bottom right-hand column with a number of $1,506,000. That is what we believe at this moment to be the additional expense needed in regard to an appropriation rather than the $4 million. And we're going to go through a discussion of that variance here in the next few minutes. But I would like to point out that this is still, at this point in time, an estimate, because as you know, we are in the process of closing our books right now. And although we've gone through a diligent effort in terms of forecasting the month of December, there could be unknown expenditures out there that we have not yet captured in this number. So in summary, at this point, the $4 million is now about 1.5. So in regard to the overall analysis of Mlnp, what you can see is this: if you look at the shaded line, which is your total revenues, you can see that we anticipate at this point total revenues to be down relative to the budget by $4.9 million. $3.8 million of this is operating revenue that is lower than budget, largely as a result of not implementing an anticipated 4.5% rate increase that was actually in the 2012 budget. That's the primary reason for the reduction in revenue. Additionally, we have $1 million, or we anticipate $1 million reduction relative to budget in non-operating revenue, mostly due to the fact that because we did not issue long-term revenue bonds, we had a smaller amount of money sitting in the cash pool to earn interest, and then when you combine that with the low interest rate environment, it resulted in lower interest expense earnings than was anticipated and budgeted. Now moving on to the operating expense portion of the income statement, what you'll see initially is if you go to the total labor line, we anticipate coming in under budget in regard to labor by $2.9 million. And this is largely due to having some vacant positions in Mlnp. The next area of interest would be the total non-labor. In non-labor, we anticipate that we will overexpend that portion of the budget by $417,000. And actually, I said that wrong. We would underspend the budget by $417,000. And in this area, I would really like to commend Mlnp, because if you'll notice, the travel budget is $177,000, or actually the actuals are $177,000 less than what was budgeted. So they have really embraced and are diligently working towards the culture of thrift, which is the philosophy of the mayor. So they've done a really excellent job in this area. Moving on to the next category, which is natural gas purchases. You will see that this category is up by $1.5 million, and this is largely due to higher than anticipated gas purchases for resale from Marathon. So we purchased more than what we had anticipated, but these purchases for resale is what enabled us to have, if you look at your revenue number on sales for resale, that is what enabled us to have a higher revenue number. If you look at the next line on the income statement, it's the gas production expense. We are anticipating to be over budget here by $1.4 million. And the reason for this is because this is the line that represents the cost that Mlnp pays for our ownership interest in Beluga. So as the Conoco operating costs for that field are higher, then this reflects our share of our operating costs. So they came in higher for the total field in regard to operating, and this was the addition as a result of that. The next line of significance is the regulatory debit and credit line. And what this reflects is the accounting entries associated with the gas transfer price. There's a timing issue here, and I am assured by our ACE team here that this will even out over time. Lastly, in regard to direct costs, you will see the commercial paper fees appear to be over budget, but in fact what happened is this is just a categorization issue in regard to the budget, because the full impact of the reduction of the budget that was taken for the commercial paper program was actually reflected in non-operating. So really what you need to do is just look at it on a bottom line basis, because it's just a category definition. So moving down to non-operating expenses, what you can see on a bottom line basis here is that we anticipate being, I guess, under budget by $600,000. And this is largely due to the allowance for funds used during construction line item. That is the single largest line item. And as you know, what that reflects is the amortization of the interest and rate expense associated with funds that were used during the construction of the project. So on a bottom line basis, it's good news in that we did anticipate a $4 million additional appropriation. As of today, we anticipate it to be 1.5, but as we close the books, you know, the numbers may move some.
Mr. Cromwell.
Thanks, Lucinda. One of the challenges I have is, and I don't remember you going over this as I was looking through these numbers, but under the operating revenue, we're basically under everything in revenue than what we thought we would get, other than resale. How can we be so off in our revenue projections? What is there something that happened?
Mr. Tromley, two reasons. One, that we had in the budget a 4.5% rate increase.
So that's what that goes to.
Well, that's part of it, but also the sales for resale, the profits or margins on those go back to our customers. We don't get to keep those. And because of that, it's lowered the COPA, the cost of power adjustment. And you can, and pretty much it's about $4.2 million of that that 5.8 that went up and affected those other revenue streams, the residential and commercial customers.
Okay,
And our
so-
rates this year are actually lower than they were this time a year ago.
Okay, so
Because of that.
going back to the
It's
rate
really
increase,
the rate.
the rate increase. Can you explain a little bit more? I guess I'm a little bit confused. So it was projected, but you didn't ask or it wasn't granted? What?
Once we did the study, we deemed that it wasn't significant enough to really go through a full rate increase. And this was like a year ago. And we would have been doing it for a test year of 2010.
So the test failed? You say it was a test?
It was so small, we decided not to file it. We have come to the assembly here in the last month and got approval for a rate increase that we have filed with the RCA. And it was
Okay.
quite, you know,
So-
we felt like it was enough to really go forward and file the rate increase with the commission.
Okay, so for a little bit more clarification then, is that the assembly said yes, go to the RCA for a rate increase
On this last one.
on this
yes.
last one.
Right.
Which will be for 2013.
For 2013. My question is in regards to, you've asked for the rate increase, but is it based on your 2012 budget or your 2012 actuals? So my question is that, are we going to see a loss next year because you didn't go for a rate increase in 2012. You're going for one in 2013. Is that based on 2012, so we're going to be short again next year? Or did you compensate in your rate increase for this loss of revenue?
No, I mean, basically, when you file a rate increase, you have to select a test year. And the one that you guys just approved here in the last month was based on a 2011 test year. It's based on the expenses. The revenue, you know, you do look at the revenues, see what the revenue deficiency is. But there shouldn't be a problem at all.
Okay.
And just to point out, the 2011 expenses, which were used for the rate, were 125 million, okay, which is more than this year.
Okay.
Mr. Trainee?
On 2012 variance, I see 1.8 at line 4. Was there a reason why it's that different?
The military?
Yeah.
Well, same thing. You know, we didn't come to you guys and file the rate increase, the 4.5%. The military rates are also affected by the margins on the sales resell. The third factor on the military is the gas project out there where they're taking the gas.
That's what I was wondering if that's affecting
The
this.
Fort Rich, KWH has gone down starting late in August. The military,
Methane from the dump.
and the military can swing up and down based in the past on troop deployment and return.
Are we going to be impacted in the future a lot more by the waste methane that's being picked up as you're generating more electricity?
It's reducing our revenues from Fort Ridge.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Flynn?
Remind me about how much does it cost for you to do a rate case?
Oh, that's a tough, I would say probably a couple $100,000, you know, that's kind of a rough guess. I mean, we will end up hiring a rate of return expert because that's something that can always be debated. And you need somebody with that kind of expertise, and that's probably $40,000 to $50,000 right there, maybe more.
So you spent about $200K on a rate filing?
I would say so, but it's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of a guess, my best guess
Is
at
that
this
recoverable,
time.
the rate structure, or is that considered to be outside? Are the expenses for a rate case recoverable within the rate structure? Or is that
Sure,
about
they'd be recoverable. I mean, pretty much all expenses are recoverable except for contributions and lobbying. And then if they come in and they find things that they think we shouldn't have spent the money on, they can disallow that. They look at the expenses pretty closely.
Ms. Osiander?
You really caught my attention when you said there were about $2.8 million in unfilled labor positions. Is that accurate? And why is that number so high?
Our vacancy's been pretty high this year. We've worked more overtime, but we've got less bodies this year than we did a year ago.
And you're actively recruiting? Or
Yes, we're trying.
your pay structure is low? What, I mean,
That-
speculate. will you
That
please?
can be part of it, yes.
Ms. Osiander, we're also working closely with Mlnp to make sure that we have a good budget number in regard to labor.
That would be
And
great.
so, I'm not saying that this number was bad, but, because it's not, because they have had a lot of vacancies, but we're constantly trying to refine that. We did get the labor numbers in our team budget system, and that does provide for more accuracy.
Was trying to remember if there were layoffs in this last budget for MLNP, and I don't remember any. Were there?
There weren't any layoffs, but we did reduce the labor number back and downward to reflect the vacancy that we had seen in previous years.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Trombley.
Going back to the loss in the revenue to the military, some of that's due to the methane production from the.
Yes, sir.
Do we get a dividend? Do we get paid? Does the city get paid a dividend the way the Mlnp pays a dividend from that gas sales?
Well, the methane gas sales would come through SWS.
And they do pay a dividend to the
And
city.
They do not pay a dividend
Well-
per se. Well, depends on their financial condition. They really don't have a solid financial position right now to be paying a dividend. They
But
do
in
pay-
theory, they do.
They pay like that. They pay, you know what, let me research that.
Okay. Well, the reason I asked is
Let me
that
make sure I get it right.
let's say that aside from the fact that there wasn't the 4% rate increase, let's just say, for rounded numbers, say $500,000 is due to loss of revenues due to the methane production. My question is that does the city make up that lost revenue by profit, not dividend, but for lack of a better term, a dividend that's paid to the city by SWS, Solvay Services?
How much are we making by selling the gas?
Right.
Thank you.
I have the number, I just can't remember it.
Revenues.
It was incorporated in our 2013 budget for SWS.
Okay.
Maybe some, I don't remember it.
I thought it was a couple mil.
Yeah, I think it's 1.7. 1.7 is actually what I remember.
1.7?
I remember it being
Okay.
1.7, but I would need to verify that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Hahnemann?
I don't have the 2011 numbers here. Because we didn't do the rate increase and because of some things like the wind damage, it was, back to nature that wasn't forecasted. Is there an adjustment? It occurs to me in my memory, and it's excuse me for not remembering all the way, but something like a $5 or $6 million reduction from 11 to 12 and then not having the rate increase. Is there something to that? I mean, I'm just trying to remember why we're looking at about $4 million, the request obviously for the differences. And what can be done to
If we
offset?
had thought that the rate increase was significant to go forward, we would definitely go forward. I look at the bottom line, and I like it to be as big as it can be. And I don't worry about really so much hurting the customers, because the RCA is going to take care of that. That's their job, to look at our numbers and be sure we're not overcharging the customers. But when we did the analysis, it was such that it didn't look like it was worth the effort to file it. We knew we'd be coming back probably in a year and filing one anyway, so.
Well, just for and you probably saw, I think you were in the meeting, but we've got a request in from the state some emergency funding, and I think it's like $900,000 is what we asked for. If that comes in, then would our rate increase request drop a little bit because of that? It's offset by some one-time funding, maybe perhaps?
It could, yes.
But it would be a couple of years out, because if you recall, the foundation for the 2013 rate increase is 2011 actuals.
And what the RCA will probably do with that, the cost that we incurred from the wind damage, they'll probably say amortize that, spread that cost out over 3 to 5 years. Because the storm like that doesn't happen every year.
Right, we hope.
Yes. I think another one's coming though.
Mr. Flynn?
Just a real quick comment on that, or basic question and comment. Are you guys involved at all with the alley task force that solid waste services is spearheading?
The alley
Task force.
Save our alleys.
Save our alleys.
I haven't,
There.
I don't know.
Okay.
Jim maybe could answer the question.
Okay, I'll just, several neighborhoods are concerned about solid waste services ceasing alley service. And solid waste services has identified various obstacles as reasons why alley service is a challenge. Among those obstacles are wires that have sagged over time. And so if somebody from your organization could reach out to Mr. Alcantar and see what level of participation would be appropriate.
Mr. Trainee.
At our last meeting on that issue, we have asked to set another meeting up with utilities, for example, like Mlnp, because we've had complaints that when solid waste goes through, unless the homeowner calls, they won't respond to the hanging line. And the same thing with the other utilities. So we've asked to have a meeting with all the wired utilities and come and talk to our little meeting on it. Besides that, in one case, an individual undergrounded his electrical line, and the rest of the utilities wouldn't take their lines down and put underground at the same time. It seems if you open up the ground once, you should move all the utilities down.
That's what I did.
I know. Well, you're ahead of the game, but we have a meeting coming up on that, Pat, and we'll make sure you know about it.
Are there, we've got 5 minutes, any other questions or comments that you'd like to make? I just want to say thank you for coming back, and thank you for answering some of our questions. I appreciate the work that you did on this. I appreciate that we're looking at a different figure than we were earlier this year, and we understand that there, if there's an issue, we have first quarter budget revision, but I appreciate what you did. Thank you. We adjourn. Everybody remember to take their big box of material home.
Don't take that.
Dave's gonna read it for us anyways and give us a report, so don't worry.
Just trust me.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
11, sorry.
As I said, we didn't
Yeah.
well,
That's the last
The biggest do the work, we're not gonna talk about who they are. Big question.
Let me know.
great, thanks.
We're confident.
Super, very
Yeah, and like you mentioned the 4%, and I got confused as to there was a 4%, why did we do the 4%?
I used to work for,
That's where I was like, I didn't understand the
there, nobody here.
In the budget,
So
in
with,
2012.
yes, correct, Tuesday.
Done in the summer of 2011, we thought we were going to file a rate increase, and we estimated it at 4.5%. Once you do the analysis, do the
Based on
it was around
All the time, that's just.
And nothing worse than okay.
all that work after, when we knew, especially with XP comes
I will try my hardest to. Sure.
so we should not file. So the
I've been
rate lower,
getting her.
but if we file it,
Yeah, I know, Illinois has specialized employees and specialized.
So, when you say, we can just absorb, I guess the assumption is that we can absorb that.
Oh, I know.
You assume that it would go to, that you would never assume a loss. Thank you.
we're gonna make sure we get all of it. All this work.
The mayor, the boards and commissions.
Right.
Experience. I saw you on there. Boards and commissions, and so they was that agenda. It's one thing to tell me that you look at the research, nothing on it. So that's the I-body check. And everything else.
Top 5, where's that coming out? Where's that coming out? Savings accounts.
It wasn't. Daryl has enough, Daryl has enough IT background to know. Why don't you do this and this? And you're because IT was afraid they were going to be tasked with doing it. So sometimes things.
When you said.
Yes, and that is why I say maybe somebody else can. Okay. Well, thanks for your patience. Sure. Thank you for introducing me.
Looking at it now, so the biggest, nobody asked me the biggest reason. We thought we were probably gonna buy it.
Yes, I know, I got those.
So transmission lines came down quite a bit.
That's
might recall the SBC project.
Thank you, but it's always nice to know who I miss. It's always nice to know.
The
person who lives down the hall. I'm getting better. Well, I commend you for starting.
Thank you. You guys does the maintenance on those, and their techs couldn't figure out for probably a good 6 weeks what was going on. Finally, they figured it out. The line is back up now, but that line was down quite a bit.
So your ability to power.
The cell power, cell going down. So we didn't buy as much gas in the last couple months. And that was probably the biggest surprise. We're down to 1.5. Even when we looked at it the first time, I was a little over 3. But I don't want to have to do this twice. I don't want to come to you guys once and then go, oh, we underestimated. And there's a lot of invoices that just we don't see until, we keep the books open until about the first week.
Oh, I can still do
13th,
find you.
14th.
Send it to you now.
I mean, I get after you guys, hey, I want these invoices in time.
Ethically, because I've done
The
it
paperwork is the
in
last
past.
thing.
I have an 18-year-old grandmother. That's my son.
Yeah, so let us
But
know
we're
what,
financially, I don't think. we're-
what kind of
I know there's a lot of like.
pamphlets or what you need to pass out, or what.
Because I found this, were taught their kids.
Yeah.
They don't want it online. So all I do in the state is.
No,
There
I.
are other ones that are.
It was actually.
Apparently
Yeah,
someone-
show you that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. Pat, yes, yeah, I was gonna say, she was the one who was there. Smart.
And I don't know if you've ever been through any of our plants.
Oh, I did, I spent the whole day on the.
Oh, good, okay, good.
Went through the-
It's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah,
It kind of reminds me of Unfilled, something like
yeah. Well, you have a-
Yeah. She's a natural gas, you're just putting energy through a line, but.
Every week.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I created a website, and so she'll know a little bit about it, and I sent her teams, and, all I did was talk to the kids initially, and say, are you interested, this is what you have to do, go to the website, you have to have your parents' permission, you have to have your teacher's permission, because you have to get out of school. Some of the kids do want to know.
No, you got great hair. I
And I think
Carrying later, because you have to be parents. Also, so you don't get into that. I just for your parents and your teacher. That's, we don't get into that. We don't write your excuses.
and this is just my lack.
Yeah, just create a link now. I love Navy and I love. So that, I think a link is today or more.
Yeah,
We're working on getting.
I didn't think it was
Good, yes. One class I would tell you would be commercial activities to be a teacher. And I'll find out.
Thank you.
Yeah, and those are the kids. Really, yes. So you might, once I find out if she sends you your ticket.
Well, I can do that, I can do that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You want to ask them. Buying gas probably slowed down some because of the transmission line headed up north. The SBCs, if I'm in two guys, just probably
You can send a memo to
It
staff.
was down quite a bit. It sells.
Yes, the teacher. Are you interested?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll give you a schedule, I'll give that.
And we get samples of it. Yeah, it's all in those garbage. And the ballots, they can't have. Sample ballots. And from that point, and of course, the people working so wash out sample ballots everywhere. And we should put it down.
I'll get that.
Why do they have to?
And I will
In
get.
November, we're
Absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't have that to
I
work for.
won't do it what's Friday, I don't have it today, but I'll try to find out who it is. Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure.
of sales through November. That was what we budgeted.
Okay, so I have to take the card down.
It'd be nice if we get it.
And
All right,
I do.
hey, let's talk on this. So
Actually,
I think we get a little bit
if
of
it
a,
had been an hour.
as much as that.
I don't.
That would be nice. Actually, we're down two, aren't we? Because we're already down one.
Maybe Debbie.
Yeah.
At some point, probably it's not enough.
Anyway, bottom line is that's what.
See ya. Went back to the.
I think we can.
Oh, how's that going?
I'm gonna grab a sandwich. Yeah, some good, I didn't expect this.
Yeah.
Hey there, how's it going?
You haven't seen Ross.
Okay,
Yeah. I got an interesting
Well, they-
letter from
they,
a lady
yeah, it's kind
that's
of.
representing, it's on the SPP project.
Huh?
Because, you know, it was all supposed to be local hire.
Except for the resource development.
She's working with some lady that has some small trading businesses. She's got a phone number. So
Well, yeah, and just the makeup
what
of
they're
the
trying to
board
see is,
stuff.
we need federal
I
money
worked
involved.
for
Federal money involved.
Ah,
Well, no, it.
So it's kind of a,
That's what I was-
Feds will provide you with.
who's there? Yeah, exactly, I'll take that, thanks.
There's federal money
thanks.
involved in the project. You can't, you know,
Thanks,
local
Jeff.
hires like.
hopefully, see,
Hey,
you know, you might get a call, or you can depend if I clean the
She
house.
knew that we issued MAPs.
Thank God for
Okay.
you.
So is the MAP subsidy, would you consider that to be federal money used on that project?
I wanted the recipe for that chicken.
You want, I can't hear
We
you.
might have to
Oh,
get a
I
capture
think,
or
dish that you had with the chicken on top.
seaweed.
For the rice?
I think.
Oh, that's really easy.
Because
But
my
I put on
first
the other
thought was to
hand,
kind
yeah,
of do this.
you know, I don't measure
Yeah.
this. But I can send you the ingredients.
Yeah,
Okay,
oh yeah,
that'd be
big
good.
piece.
And then how you got the chicken so crispy on top? Did you cook it separately and then?
And I thought she, I generally talked, I thought she
But
might, it might go
I
away.
mean, as in all
She sent me a
recipes,
letter.
wine and cream, sour cream is all
It's for a couple of
But the
days,
other,
department labor
not
did
using
that.
my phone. But the other thing is Montreal seems to want their magic.
Contractors.
Yeah, I'll have to take you to Costco and get you shopping.
That would be good, for something other than a box with a picture on it.
But I know you guys tried to hire locals, which they could, which is good.
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah,
I would.
I sent it to Ross and
Yeah,
that's kind of what I thought. They had done some homework to read.
So
Audit
I
financials,
did talk
we issued
to,
that.
oh, I signed something.
Yeah.
And I did talk to Barbara and I am agreeing that we need to get a process going for this whole liquor license.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite manageable.
Yeah.
Because if you get a process, then it becomes just cut and paste. Cut and paste versus screen, yeah. Where's my box?
Your what?
Oh, they must take my box upstairs.
Oh, no, they took it out by the hallway.